she could read my mind. Maybe we could dance all night while the streets are empty. It's been some time, now you know what's on my mind. I just wanna hold you tight while the streets are empty, while the streets are empty. You light up my life, I wish that you could read my mind. Maybe we could dance all night while the streets are empty.
Good evening and welcome to Total Sim Sport for coverage of round 6 of the European Sprint Series, coming to you live from the home of British motorsport, Silverstone. My name is Chris Rowlands. You may be wondering where the usual voice of ESS on Thursdays is. Well, sadly James is unable to make tonight due to Scottish and Southern Electric sabotaging his house. Never fear, because we found an equally brilliant deputy for you. If you watch any iRacing streams from the last year or so, surely you'll have heard his dulcet tones by now. It's the incomparable Tim Cox. Welcome, Tim. How are you feeling for tonight?
I'm great, Chris. Really looking forward to helping you guys out tonight. As you mentioned, James unable to make it due to, I believe, someone cut through the main power cable into his sound. So it's all good fun. Well, we love multi-class endurance here at Total Sim Sport, and although the European Sprint Series only lasts for 1 hour, it's bound to be an hour of action-packed racing.
Yep, it has been every week so far, and of course we came to last week. We were at the Hockenheim Ring, and we had a pretty interesting race, I would say. I mean, they're all interesting, but we saw Taylor Mills got her first win in the broadcast split series. Taylor's back in the grid tonight, but so is Jan Kurbs, so expect some challenge there. We also had a first win in LMP2s for Izzo, although he was battled all the way to the finish by Huisbas. And then, of course, in GTEs, we had Spoleto with a similar story, sort of as dominant as you can be when you're only 5 seconds clear. But, of course, the standings so far, the aforementioned Jan Kurbs is still in the lead of the prototype field, followed now by Taylor Mills and Carlo Labatti. It's a very hotly contested field there. You can see, I mean, of course, we've seen strong performances this season from pretty much everyone in the top 10 there, really. Will Woodland early in the season, Andre Reddington as well. We've seen strong results from them. Of course, still 6 weeks to go. There's no drop rounds, so it's still all up for grabs. Anyone could win, although you are going to have to challenge Jan on the track at some point, and he has shown some absolutely rapid pace already this season. And of course, we've got the LMP2s as well. So after the win last week, Alessandro Izzo is now, I believe, top of the standings. There you go, you can see that. Dominic Corton, we've seen some fantastic racing from Dominic, particularly at Spa and Brazil. He is in second. We've seen also fantastic pace from Jan Studensky. He's just not had the rub of the green so far. But again, that is a very tightly packed field. Just 30 points separating the top 18. That would not take a huge amount to overhaul. So still all to play for there. And of course, let's not forget the GTEs. They want the prototypes to not forget they're there sometimes, although mostly we've seen good behaviour so far in this series. Roman Verdelivo is currently leading. We've not seen him for a few weeks, but he has been supreme when he's been here. Mikhail Rack as well, another name to look out for, but you could say that about all of these guys. Junior Borges, Adrian Leidinger, Kirill Kolobuksov, we've seen strong results from all of them so far. It'll be interesting to see who's going to do well tonight. We've got a bit of a bigger field tonight compared to last week. How do you think that's going to influence the race tonight, Tim?
Well, I think it's going to be a trickier one, obviously, for drivers to manage traffic. Of course, traffic management plays such a large part in multi-class racing, and it's really emphasised here with 2 prototype categories, obviously of LMP1, LMP2, and of course the GTE guys. And I'm sure there'll probably be a little bit of tactical use of traffic around them by drivers, where they're looking to either get ahead of the driver that's in front of them, or maybe catch up to them, or equally just trying to get the jump and get a bit of distance and clear air between the driver that's behind them. And I'm sure we'll see definitely the prototypes using the GTEs as pawns in their battle with their rivals as they look to try and get one up over the car that they're battling with.
Yep, I think we're in for an interesting one, that's for sure. So we've gone through what's happened so far. Let's also talk about what's still to come. So, of course, we've got Silverstone tonight. This is round 6. Week 6 of 12. Next week we'll be coming to you from Daytona. You'd like to think a lot of our drivers will be pretty familiar with Daytona because, of course, you've got the endurance race every January coming from there. That will be on the 28th of October. And then following on from that, we've got trips to the Red Bull Ring, Watkins Glen, Monza, Road America, and then finally in December, we're going to finish the season at the lovely Sebring. So, Tim, we've already talked a bit about the challenges they're going to face tonight, but let's talk about Silverstone specifically. What is unique about the track here? Where are the hot spots for the drivers, both in their class and sort of dealing with traffic? Basically, give us the lowdown. What's Silverstone like?
Well, Silverstone, of course, one of the classics within motor racing. Obviously, Silverstone dates itself all the way back to 1943, World War II Air Force Base within the UK. And, of course, home to the very first Formula 1 race ever. Now, of course, you've got the long straights of Hangar, Hamilton and Wellington, and that's going to provide plenty of action for our drivers and our viewers as well, especially with the larger braking zones. It's the head, obviously, off Hamilton into Abbey and through Farm, and then down to the hard brakes into Village. Off Wellington, it's a little bit more tricky, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of side-by-side action through Brooklands and Luffield as they exit out onto Woodcote. And then, of course, we've got like the home straight, as it were, the old original straight. It's going to be pretty flat out through Copse, and then the absolutely iconic Maddox and Beckett's complex, where we'll see drivers absolutely foot to the floor through at least the entry of those, and the LMP1s especially are a real sight to behold heading through there. Then that leads us out, of course, onto the Hangar Straits, scene of many a battle over the years. The rush to be the first down to Stowe Corner. Who can get to the apex first there? But there is plenty of chance for drivers to potentially hang it around the outside of Stowe. But then we've, of course, got the hard braking area coming down into Club. That very tight left-hander, which is almost immediately followed by that sort of double apex right-hander leading us out to complete a lap. So Silverstone, as you see in from the overview shot there, there's plenty of overtaking opportunities here. Throw in some multi-class into the mix. It's going to be a great night of racing.
Yep, that it is. And as you can see, we've just finished qualifying. So the guys and girls are going to be gridding now. We can take you through the grid. And, of course, the LMP1s will be leading us. And it's a return to LMP1 for James Armstrong, who's put it on pole after his adventures into Formula 3 earlier in the week, back into his sort of home LMP1. And he's taken a very strong pole. He's joined on the front row by Simon Cowler, so another stalwart of LMP1, followed by last week's winner, Taylor Mills, in third, with Sam Dignan in fourth. So we will see a good race from these guys on row 2. Sam, this is her first race in the broadcast bit of LMP1. It'll be interesting to see how she gets on. Row 3, we've got Jake Carey and Povilas Micunas. And then row 4 is Jordan Lacey and Alex Bacu. And Jan Curbs, ominously again, starting from the back of the LMP1 field. Then, of course, the LMP2s are followed. We've got Michelle Sangalli, Marcel Berg, Galasso Lorenzo, and then David Ferreira, Jan Studensky, who has got a few places to pull up. We'll see if he's got the same pace he's shown in previous rounds. Following him, we've got Benjamin Cowra, Pietro Schettino, Danny Gosling, Just Boomeister, Matt Cox, and Nick Adams. So that is a very strong LMP1 field, but I would say an even stronger GTE field. Very Porsche dominated, although we've got a few more Chevrolets this week. Bruno Juca is pole for GTEs, followed by JJ Musset. Jorge Carmo and Richard Simner are on row 2, followed by Vincenzo Principe and Marco Ricci. Christopher D'Aquino and Jack Wells. Jerome Charvet, Jonathan Houlet are on row 4. Mark Collicott and Derek Rouleveld. And then Paul Jordan, Tony Nguyen and Cisco Schmelch are the final drivers of our 35-car grid. And we're just about to start the pace lap, or I believe it's going to be about half a lap here. So not too long for the drivers to have to try and negotiate around. I believe they're at the end of the start of the Hangar, well, the end of the Hangar Straight. We're looking at it from the wrong side there, I believe. So it's a very short run to the start here, and you can see as the timing tower comes up on the left-hand side, it's a full Audi LMP1 field. So it'll be interesting. I think this is the first time we've seen a full Audi LMP1 grid, so none of those pesky Porsches to get in the way for them tonight. So we're just going to come round just to start the pace lap. Let's hope. It already does look like we're going to see good gaps between the fields there. The LMP2s have left a nice solid gap there because we've got a very heavy braking point into turn 4, and the last thing we want to see is inter-class shenanigans on lap 1. It looks like we may have already had some incidents in the GTE field, so that puts paid to the optimism that we've just shown. So just going to come round as the lights go green, and James Armstrong's going to lead us away, but that is a strong start from Cowlarts as well, but an even stronger start from Taylor Mills. But Cowlarts has got through before we even hit turn 1. Are we going to see a comeback into turn 4 here as they come into Village? And we are seeing some late braking from Taylor Mills, but Armstrong around the outside has defended it and is looking on the inside there of Cowlarts, but it looks like Cowlarts is still clear through as we come through into the Wellington Straight now. Slight bit of contact there and some issues through the LMP2 field as well, it looks like. But so far, it looks like Cowlarts has got the best of it as we now come through into Brooklands and then Luffield. This is what's happened to Danny Gosling. This is into turn 3. It just the concertina effect you get there, and it's a little bit of afters there as well. And not Danny Gosling, bit of a passenger there. But that's half the LMP2 field, unfortunately, involved in that incident. And it looks like Ferrer and Gosling have already gone to the pits as we get another look at what's happened there. Yep, looks like on the inside there, some of the guys at the front just going a little bit too deep on the brakes. And a lot of these guys here just complete passengers. There's not a huge amount they could have done, unfortunately. But so far, it does look like it's only been Ferrer and Gosling that have had to retire their cars to the pit lane for that. And this is what happened for the GTEs on the pace lap. So let's see who decided to get away and what's happened here. So we're on board with Carmo. And I think just a little bit of hesitancy there in the GTE field as they're just trying to leave a bit of a gap. But of course, these guys can go on the green, and the green is going to go when the LMP1 field goes. So this hesitancy can cause its problems. As we're now on to lap 2, and James Armstrong is still right tucked behind Cowlarts here. Cowlarts, I think he's yet to win a race with us yet, but he's shown good pace. So it'll be interesting to see just how much longer he can hold off James Armstrong, who's got strong pace, but so does the whole field here, really. As we're now on board with Jake Carey, who's trying to follow Sam Dignan here. This is probably the closest we've seen the sort of top of the field in LMP1 so far, Tim. What have you made of the start so far?
Well, it's standard multi-class action here at Silverstone, as we just see Carey just trying to slip it up the inside of Dignan there. Yeah, but look, this is the trouble that you have when you try and get the overtake done so early on. You then end up getting swamped by the cars behind him as he's really under attack from McManus right now. And it's so close, Chris. It's really, really tricky. And over you had Schettino. He's headed to the pits in LMP2. I'll keep an eye on that battle for you while you keep an eye on these front runners for us.
Yep, that LMP2 field has already thinned out quite drastically, and if you compare that to the LMP1 field, it's only really Alex Bacchio who's not a part of this lead battle, and he's only 3 seconds down the road, so it's not exactly like he's out of it either. As we now follow Jerome Charvet, we've already said this is a strong GTE field, and you can see that from the timing tower. No one's really been able to drop anyone else. They've all got through pretty closely. Special shout out to Richard Simner, as it's his birthday. He's already made 1 place up. Suggestions from our producer earlier in the day that Richard may have had a few birthday drinks, so we'll see if he can maintain this consistency for the hour. Of course, remember, certainly for real life, don't drink and drive, guys. That goes without saying. As we go back to Sam Dignan now in the LMP1 field, Scott Carey for attention there, just beginning to be dropped by Taylor Mills and James Armstrong and Simon Cowlarts ahead, but a second and a half in an hour-long race, that's nothing. So let's see how Sam can do, if she can just keep that consistency. This is strong pace. I mean, last time out, the last lap, 5 sectors on Silverstone by the timing software, and 5 different drivers setting purple sectors in that lap. So there is a lot of pace throughout the field here. And also, don't forget, it's an open setup series. So these guys could be strong in one area of the track and weak in another. So we're going to see battles throughout the race, I would suspect. But so far, aside from the one big incident in LMP2 on lap 1...
Chris, sorry to cut across you there. Something's happened to JJ Mussett in GTE. That he's tumbled down a few places there. And also just, you mentioned about fastest laps. Fastest lap of the race so far goes to James Armstrong. And in LMP1 right now.
Also, you saw ahead there, that was JJ Mussett just losing it at that last chicane as you come through into club. It's so easily done. Any of you that would have driven this circuit, and it's pretty much regardless of the car, you'll know just how tricky it is to be fast through that chicane without losing the car at basically any point of it. We see some very close contact here between Carey and Dignan, but they've managed to keep it apart from each other there, and that is some very solid driving. Actually, I think that was Carey and McCunis, because Dignan has actually managed to get a little bit of a gap going there, as Cowlarts has bitten back from Armstrong, who had the fastest lap last time. They're trading at the moment. Cowlarts has now got half a second, which feels like a big gap, but it's really not. So still lots of action here in this LMP1 field, and of course, don't forget, these guys have got their boost, so they can pull that whenever they want, really, just to try and get that little bonus. But of course, you don't want to be battling too hard, because as you see with Dignan, now 2 seconds back from the front three, any strong battling and you're going to lose sight of the people in front of you. As we're going to see an overtake. Oh dear, and it looks like was that under braking? We have lost one of our drivers there. I believe it was McCunis who went off track there. Hopefully we can get a replay of that and see exactly what happened. So we're going to be on with McCunis here, and you can see the closing speeds of these cars. McCunis on the right here, and that was just early braking, and
got out of it early there, Chris, and just avoided contact with the car in front of him at his own expense. And this is where it's so tricky early on, especially with the cars laden up with fuel. Drivers be looking to stop probably around about 3/4 race distance, where they'll be looking to take on the minimum amount of fuel. So you see Rowlands on the attack, the only Corvette, one of two three Corvettes even, as they try to get it up the inside of the Porsche of Jordan right now, and it's getting really, really tight. We've got battles up and down the field right now as we head back to the front on the battle for P1 in LMP1.
Yep, these multi-class drivers, they really know how to make Sean's life difficult in the camera booth, because who on earth do you focus on with all of this going on? And we say about trading lap times, Armstrong this time getting the fastest lap, right tucked behind Cowlarts here as we come over to the Wellington Straight. And if you look on the track map on the top right of the screen, you can see they're not that far away from the GTEs, and dealing with that traffic is going to be absolutely key for the winners of each class tonight. And of course, we've seen Cowlarts before. He's very good through traffic. James Armstrong, no slouch himself, but he's fond of an incident. For those of you who followed us in the Radical and Porsche IR UK leagues before, it's not necessarily his fault, but he does seem to attract the major incidents. So we'll see if that's going to be his undoing again tonight. But Cowlarts so far defending pretty solidly, as we're going to go back to the GTEs now, because aside from Duca up front, again, everyone's in a battle here really, and Simner and Carmo here. Simner as well, he's up to second now thanks to that incident we saw earlier with Mussett, but he's not really been able to shake Carmo, and Principe is not that far behind either, still within the draft range. Is Carmo going to go for a move here on the exit of the Hangar Straight? And no, he's staying tucked up behind for now. I think, Tim, do you believe that's a wise idea? Just sort of play it easy early in the race, just see what's going on with the car in front of you.
I think definitely it is really tight in GTE right now. 2nd to 8th place are all very close to one another, and then we've got another group just behind them, which covers from that's from 9th, 10th, and 11th place, and it's getting really, really tight down in GTE, but it's getting really tight. It's all the way at the tail end of LMP2 right now. We've got Boomeister, who's under attack from Berg. As we head and look already, the LMP1s, they're through. Already past GTE, well, past the tail end of it, through about the mid-pack at the moment. And this is where it's going to get tricky for these drivers, Chris, because they don't want to lose too much time to the GTEs. It's all about how much your net loss, how little time can you afford to lose clearing through traffic, as we just ride on board with Lacey right now. And also, you mentioned it before and early in the show, as there we go, that's a move up the inside for Carey to get past Dignan. And they head it around the outside, and using all of that hybrid boost that the Audis provide. And
it's like an absolute roller coaster, isn't it? It's just so much acceleration coming out of the street. I mean, compare that to the LMP2s. They're going to have a much harder time on some of these corners. This is quite exhilarating to watch as someone who is only really brave enough to go into the LMP2 myself. It's quite scary looking at just how quick these cars are.
Chris, this is why we love multi-class racing, and especially we love LMP1, LMP2 and GTE, just look at the way Lacey, these two drivers in front of him, Dingnam just ahead and Carey are just carving through the field right now. Jinking left, jinking right. Of course, the prototypes have a lot more downforce compared to their GT rivals. And that is how they're able to send it around the outside. Pull off moves that you wouldn't expect to see. And as we just got Lacey just getting past Lacey versus Carey there, the battle for 4th place.
Just look how congested the track was getting there as we come past Vale and into Club. And while we're following that, of course, Cowlarts has actually managed to drop Armstrong, and Armstrong's been battling with Mills as we come through that traffic. Mills and Armstrong were actually trading places on that last lap. So Cowlarts will be desperate to try and get away from these two while they start battling. And Mills, as we've seen before, she won the race last time out. She's got really good pace. And how racy is she going to look tonight? Is she going to be looking to make some moves? And of course, you can see on the timing tower on the left there, they have completely dropped the rest of the field. 6.5 seconds this early into the race is a pretty big gap. And now, if you look on the track map, they've got a lot of clean air to the LMP2. So they really want to make use of that clean air now. You almost want to cooperate between each other as we're coming through here, through Cops, which is one of the hardest corners on the track to get right, even in the higher downforce cars, because you just lose so much speed if you don't carry as much as you can through there. It's almost worth taking a tactical off track just to ensure you keep going through that speed. And this battle here between Boomeister and Berg in LMP2, this may only be for 7th in class, but these two have been neck and neck the entire race as we come through into Maggots and Beckett's. I believe actually that's
down into Village there, so they head down around.
Yep.
And Chris, these two, they've been ever so close. Berg has been right on the back gearbox pretty much for the whole race so far of Boomeister, but not able to capitalise yet. Boomeister maybe running lower downforce, but here comes Berg.
I think he's got it done. That was nice and simple, really. I think that's nice cooperative driving from both of them. They've both made their intentions very clear. And again, no incident. And we can move over again to the GCE. Battles galore. You can see there's kind of 5 drivers in a train here. And we're on board with Dakino at the moment, who's quietly taken himself up 2 places. But Gwen behind him has gained 8 places in class. And is Dakino going to be his next victim? He is car number 2. So, he's a strong driver. He's 5.8k on the iRating. So you think it's fair to say he knows his way around the car. But so far he's just saying tucked up behind us to come through into Maggots and Beckett's here.
Chris, Porsche dominant here at Silverstone, currently occupying the top 6. The next non-Porsche runner in GT is 7th place, Ricky, in the Corvette, and then the only other manufacturer in GT is Ford. They're currently 11th in class. Javert currently on board for them tonight. Be interesting to see how the Ford get on. I know producer Sean absolutely loves the Ford, so I'm sure that'll be getting plenty of airtime. But while we've just been discussing this, Berg has really managed to pull a bit of a gap over Boomeister at the battle we were just watching previously in LMP2, as I believe Corbs has just got past Dingan in LMP1.
Yeah, we've yet to really see the traditional Jan Curbs charge through the field. He's currently in a Dignam and Macunas sandwich, and he's actually Macunas behind him is actually beginning to challenge him here. And he's got past him. I think he's used a bit of a boost there. And as we come through Club and onto the start-finish straight, Jan Curbs is really not showing the kind of pace we're used to seeing. It doesn't look like there's any damage to that car, though. He's coming back here on Macunas. He's taken that place back. But all of this battling is just going to cost them both more and more time as they drift further and further from the leaders. But again, like we said, this is an hour-long race. There's still plenty of time to go. We're not even a quarter of the way through yet. Anything can happen. I mean, one of these guys could perhaps take an early pit stop. And do you think, Tim, is it worth maybe thinking about taking an early pit stop as we are just about to approach the pit window opening for all 3 classes?
Chris, this is where it gets tricky because, yes, you will have run light. So if the drivers have only fuel to go this far into the race, then they're going to be sat in the pits for a long time while they take on maximum fuel to then go to the end of the race. So I would imagine probably we're going to expect probably another 15 minutes or so before we see anyone heading to the pits. As just see LMP2, they are coming around to the back of GTE now. But you've got to say, Chris, those top 3 in LMP1 have just cleared off into the distance. You can see it in the track map in the top right corner of your screen right now, where the gap that they have over 4th place in the class is really, really significant, and it's quite a similar tale as well in LMP2, where again we've got the top 3, Sangali, Studensky and Quora, all well ahead as all the Porsches start to almost trip over each other right now as the LMP2 start to come through, and this is going to be an interesting part of the race. And probably in about 10 minutes-ish time as well, where you're going to have LMP2s, LMP1s and GTEs all fighting over the same square-inch of tarmac.
Well, this is the brilliance of multi-class racing, especially when the battles are working so well alongside the traffic. And we haven't really seen any incidents. Of course, we don't want to jinx it yet. But with how hard these guys are battling in the Porsches and the GTEs, it just shows you the sheer skill of these drivers, that they can keep it on the track. They can go as quick as they're going, because you can see, they're keeping those gaps to the guys in sort of 9th downwards. Although we have had one little off track there. I believe that might have been for Tony and Gwen. Nope, we got a flash there as well, but this is a lot of Porsches and one Corvette in one small space of track. Most of the LMP2s, it does look like, have managed to get through. We did wonder if they were going to have a harder time getting through because they don't have access to that boost. But are we going to see any moves here into Vale and then Club? It looks like they're all going to go through one at a time, which is perhaps sensible. Look at Marco Ricci now in the Corvette. He is the lead Corvette, so he's personal glory there for him, but he'll want to be lead of GTEs as well. But Yuka is 8 seconds up the road from him. He's really cleared off, and Richard Simner, he has managed to get rid of Carmo, but now he's got Gwen for his troubles, only a second and a half down the road, and Gwen is really showing pace. He's now up 11 places. But is Richard Simner going to get the birthday victory? Because he's only got 5 seconds up to Yuka, and if he's not having to worry about battling, he can just focus on looking forward. And yep, we've still got 44 minutes left of this race. You can see just on the other end of the Wellington Straight he is there, but we just can't leave this LMP1 battle alone. Armstrong's caught back up to Cowlarts.
Just to bring you up to date on the LMP1s, they are now about to cut their way through. Well, they already are cutting their way through LMP2. Although, as you can see, by the green dots on the track map, that is the GTs. They are not too far ahead, and already they're onto the back of these cars, and it's going to get a little bit messy and a little bit spicy. It's got the number 21 there. That's Matt Cox just running a little bit wider than the LMP2. But Armstrong, he's just lost a little bit of time to the leader as they cleared through the traffic. But let's take a little look at what happened to Ricky, the Brazilian.
Yes, Ricky was battling well, and he's just lost the rear end.
A little bit of a tap there, Chris, as well, which just helped him on his way round, and possibly he might have been able to save it, but here comes Armstrong.
Armstrong going round, and there we go, Magnus and Beckett. That's the sign of a quality driver, to be able to go round through here. And as we come onto the Hangar Straight, you get the relatively easy traffic overtakes by comparison. But Cowlarts has been able to get through this traffic and just gain a little bit more time, and that's brought Taylor Mills back into the equation. She's trying to go past.
They're side by side, Chris.
They're side by side, yeah.
Ford.
So going through Stowe there, Taylor Mills managed to get through, but then of course there was a Ford in the way, and coming back through Vale and then into Club, Armstrong's back ahead, but there's yet more traffic. But this time it's worked in Armstrong's favour. He's still got the position, but Cowlarts is now nearly 3 seconds up the road. So Cowlarts is really able to make the most of this traffic, and now he's on his own as he's coming through into Village and the Loop and Aintree. Is he going to be able to keep pace? These two are still battling while going through the traffic. This is incredible to see. Taylor Mills just taking it a little bit easier there.
Chris, this is Armstrong's chance now with those Porsches, although not able to capitalise. Mills just not letting Armstrong get away, just following behind. And that really was Armstrong's chance there to try and put some distance between himself and Mills, but he's unable to do so. This is why we come and watch top-level sports car sim racing. Is this going to be close? Well, Mills just giving a bit of a nudge to the Porsche there, and look, they've got LMP2s ahead of them, and this is where it's getting a little bit messy now and a little bit spicy, Chris.
It really is. It's amazing what these drivers can do. The fact we haven't seen any real major contact there, because they're all three classes on the same space of track, and they've all just got through. And despite that, Armstrong is actually catching Cowlarts back up. So we have really got a race for the top three here on our hands. And Taylor Mills, obviously no slouch herself. We saw the overtake through Stowe. She's got the pace with Armstrong. It's just a case of who can get through traffic. They're still clearing P4. Carey is now 8 seconds down. in P4 of this class, and of course has the traffic we've just seen Mills, Armstrong and Cowlots get through to contend with as well. And you can see on the track map there's basically no one between Club and Maggotts and Beckett's. Everyone is in this small section of track. It's just like we saw at Suzuka and we saw at Hockenheim as well. Everyone in one space of track.
To watch Carey coming through there. I tell you what, I'd love to ride on board with one of the LMP1s as they clear through the traffic. It is really a sight to behold where they, you know, we've left, right, and just cut back through them as there we go. You can really see the speed differential where they're able to deploy that hybrid boost. Now, it's worth noting that the Audis can only regenerate hybrid energy under braking. The Porsche 919 is also able to do it under acceleration. So we'll see most of the boost deployment will come out of these tight, slow corners as you just head around the left-hander of the loop. Then it's Aintree, so we're going to really utilise it now. And there we go. Now they'll be off the boost on the longer straights.
Especially there where they've managed to clear the GTEs. It's now just the LMP2s to worry about, as it looks like Matt Cox has come off and looks like he's parking that car up. Oh no, he's off again. So let's see what happens to Matt here as we go 3 wide with some GTEs in the way. Both LMP2s they're having to get out of the way, and Matt Cox just coming off a little bit worse there. I believe that is out at the end of Wellington straight into Brooklands, and he's just very, very patient. That's what we like to see. That's very polite driving from Cox there. Your namesake, no relation, I assume, Tim?
No, none whatsoever.
The gorgeous iRacing UK livery on his car there, though. I believe producer Sean may have made that. And yeah, he's still going. Matt Cox has had a pretty interesting race. Every time we seem to have caught him, he's been involved in incidents. But look here, Gwen has caught right up to Simner. Is going for the overtake now as the prototype's going past. Are we going to see a move here? He's on the inside line. Who's going to be strong under braking as we've got another prototype coming through? And Gwen has got that move into Hangar, I believe this is. And is he going to be able to defend it through Vale?
The Porsche
He's
driver
certainly defending.
Already up 12 places so far tonight. Really great start from him.
Yeah, and Simner's still on the podium, but of course it is a little bit gutting when someone overtakes you. But if I'm Yuka now in the lead of GTEs, I'm going to be looking in my mirrors because Gwen clearly has the pace. And one thing we've missed that's happened while we've been following all this action, and it's understandable we've missed it because so much has been happening, Jan Kurbs has been the one to opt for that early pit stop. We assume that isn't for damage because it doesn't look like he's had any incidents, and it just hasn't allowed him to get any clear areas. He's going to be able to pump some lap times in now as we see what's happened with Ricky here. He's already had one spin come out here, and this time it's a tap. He's not having a lot of luck into this final chicane here. First time was his own bin, but that time that was contact, so that's very unfortunate of him. He's having, unfortunately, a very eventful race as we can now watch Paul Jordan with the sole Ford of Charvet just ahead of him as we come down Wellington. And we're going to see a move. He's certainly looking, but he's just gonna let him know he's there now. He's forced the Ford into the defensive line, and that's going to slightly compromise him coming through Brooklands and then Luffield, and that with the prototype on the outside. Are we all going to behave? So far everyone's been behaving, but is this going to give Jordan the slightly better run into Woodcote? Of course, are we going to see a Hamilton Verstappen style move into Copse, or are they just going to wait for the slightly easier overtaking opportunity into the Hangar Straight? Of course, those of you who are with us for the Iris REC race here, we saw quite a few GTEs really having that pace advantage through Copse and then into Aintree and Maggotts, and just not able to wait until Hangar, because Hangar really gives you that extra bit of drafting, as we're seeing here with Simner, and I believe that is Carmo now. So Simner is now beginning to fall down. Carmo going around the outside of the Hangar Straight. Is he going to be able to get this move done? Slight touch there, and Carmo's he's done the switchback on him there. But that's giving Simner the inside line into the next turn. Well, Carmo is slightly ahead, cooperating so far. Simner just ahead there, and Carmo having to back out. That is some very assertive defending from Simner there. He can be pleased with himself. That was risky, but the risk paid off this time, as we see a similar move for Jordan on Charvet there, but Jordan's actually been able to get it through. Charvet, though, with a slightly better exit as we come through the final corner, but then this isn't really an easy place for the GT to overtake, is it, Tim?
No, it's really not, and just while we have that battle going on, DeQuino's just had a little bit of an incident, but right on board with Simner. Here we go, to see what happened to the American DeQuino by himself. Get the feeling maybe, there we go, just a bit of an over-rotation of the rear end, carrying too much speed in. Of course, the engine in the Porsche 911 in the rear, and around it went, but We've seen back to this battle for third, and Simner is really under attack from fellow both Porsche drivers, Carmo, but also Principe is joined in the fight as well, and Simner just looking a bit vulnerable right now, Chris.
He really is, and it's not like he's not got pace. He's been very quick. His fastest lap is nearly in the 154s. The only three drivers who've actually had to get into the 154s, Yuka up front, Gwen now that he's got into the clean air is consistently lapping in the 154s, and it's the gentleman at the back of this three-car battle is the other one with that extra pace on his fastest lap. That's Principe. But you can see all three of these, they're going to have to cooperate, because the longer they battle, it's already brought Principe into the fight. But it's allowing Gwen and Yuka to get further and further away when these guys have got pretty similar pace. Are we going to see another move there? It's looking very racy between Carmo and Simner there. Carmo's going for the dive on the inside of the corner, and it looks like this time he's got it. So there's a bit of a tap from Simner because of the difference to the pace there. As we come down into 16 and 17, what we're going to see happen here? We're too wide again for the second lap in a row with a number 20 ahead this time. That's Simner, who's still ahead of Principe, but Carmo's managed to get through. But now Musset in sixth is now nearly within half a second of this battle. He's going to be able to join in soon. And you can see in the background that Wells is not far behind either. So the more these guys battle with each other and trip over each other, the more places it's going to cost the guys that end up at the back of here. And Gwen is still about half a second a lap at the moment, catching Yuka. So the race in GT is far from over. But also worth pointing out, last lap we saw the new fastest lap of the race in LMP1s as well. James Armstrong in second. He's still about 2 seconds back from Cowlarts, but he's managed to drop Taylor Mills. So they're all now finally in a bit of clean air, these LMP1s. And again, finally all three tracks, they're sort of all spread out a bit more now, Tim.
Chris, yeah, just mentioning that Armstrong Cowlarts battle up front in LMP1. Armstrong did get to within 7/10, but has dropped back. He just lost a little bit of traffic to one of the LMP2s that they were clearing, and that's what's caused that one.
Yeah, so we've got a lovely drone shot replay of Pavlas Mikunas here in his LMP1 as we're coming out there of Brooklands and Luffield. It really is a gorgeous circuit to watch these cars go round on, and that's pretty much regardless of how much traffic or how light the track is at any given point. As we see James Armstrong here, a bit more traffic to deal with, gets past the first GT all right. He's going to get past the second GT just before we get into Maggots and Beckett, so I'm sure he'll be relieved about that, because not really a section of track comfortable to go too wide in. He compromised so much time, and he's now within a second of Cowlarts again, so he does seem to have the overall pace advantage on Cowlarts, but Cowlarts is just coping with this traffic ever so slightly better. And we're going back to the GT battle. We've had the first of the GTs go in. Principe has decided to pit. I think that's a very wise decision. Just get yourself a bit of clean air. Obviously feels like he's being held up in this battle. Carmo has not been able to get away from Simner. Simner is still within about half a second of him, and that's despite having to defend from the other cars in the class. It'll be interesting to see, though, is Principe going to come out in clean air, or is it going to cost him that he's come in early? But of course it's to the advantage of these guys as well, because they've got one less car to have to worry about in their battle now.
Chris, we are now pretty much half race distance, and only two drivers elected to take the pit stop so far. Gorbs in LMP1 and Principe, as you mentioned, in GTE. However, that is definitely going to be changing over the course next 10 to 15 minutes, where we will see pretty much probably all of our drivers within that window. I don't think there's going to be anyone looking at it who's going to have been fuel saving and sufficiently enough to be able to go any further than that.
No, I think not. And as we get to the halfway point, perhaps it'd be a good time for us to draw attention to you, the IR UK podcast, the Inside iRacing UK podcast. It's the only podcast you need for all your iRacing UK news. Episode 3 is out now. We've got a very special guest for you. We've got Jack Ashton from Team Fordzilla. He's also a Driver 61 coach, and he's currently driving in the UK Hot Hatch Championship. The iRacing UK podcast is hosted by Mark Jennings and Calvin Dent. It's very much worth checking them out. You can find the link below. You can find them on Spotify. Give us a shout out if you need help finding it, and we can point you in the direction. It's well worth listening to. First time really, Tim, I say we've got a lull in the action. We've not got a lull in the action. We've got plenty of cars still close and battling, but the chaos just seems to have calmed down ever so slightly, doesn't it?
It does tend to at this sort of point in the race. However, within the blink of an eye, it can change quickly as JJ Musset there. That's really getting up close and personal with the gearbox of Simner's Porsche 911. And Chris, I can feel a move coming here. It's Porsche versus Porsche. Who's going to get to the apex first? And it is Musset. He is through, but Simner is no slouch, and he's certain to be fighting that back.
Yep, he's still got 30 minutes to make it back. It is very frustrating as a driver when you have all these guys going past you, but he's still got plenty of time to make these times back. And of course, he'll be pretty happy after some of the previous races he's had with us, where he's been crashed out early, to be battling for a top 5 position. It's a much better situation for him as we ride on the rear wing of Simon Cowell. So here, very intimidating to have James Armstrong so close behind you, because these guys are both incredibly fast racers. As we're going to come through Maggots and Beckett's here, a real roller coaster section of track, and look how quickly Armstrong is closing in there. Is he going to get a run onto the Hangar Straight? Is he going to look at making that move? He might be making the move even earlier than that. He's really close here.
Chris,
so we're going to come up.
It's a really good point to show at this moment in time the difference in hybrid deployment there. Armstrong using his boost earlier, but Cowlitz just using his a bit later, just leaving that a little bit later, and that's why he was able to pull away from Armstrong temporarily. But these two are getting closer and closer as they come round to complete another lap of Silverstone onto lap 19.
Yeah, I can't believe how quickly these laps are going. To have already done 19 laps, they've still got probably another 19 to go. So Lacey and Carey here are battling, and we'll have to see another. This is about the closest battle on the track now. We've not really seen too much of either of these guys. They've had a pretty secure race so far. They've both managed to get past Dignan, who was involved in that incident earlier. And they'll both be really hoping the guys in front can trip each other up, because they're not that far away from being on the podium places here. Nice and tidy from the both of them so far. They seem to be driving quite cooperatively. There's not really been a huge amount of defensive lunging from Carey or sort of aggressive twitches out from Lacey, although I'm sure Jordan is going to try and prove me wrong here, because he's got quite a good run on the Wellington Straight, although nope, staying tucked behind. It's always nice when the drivers have got that telepathic link with the commentators, as they seem to here. And yep, they look absolutely planted as we come round Luffield, through into Woodcote, and yeah, just absolute supreme driving from pretty much the entire field so far. We've only really lost, I believe, 4 drivers so far, which for a 35-car grid on a circuit is not that easy to overtake on in places. This really speaks to the quality of the drivers, doesn't it, Tim?
It really, really does. And I've just been looking at pit strategy, Chris, especially for the lead LMP1s right now of Carlos and of Armstrong, as I believe Armstrong's got past Cowlitz for P1. He's just managed to, they're going side by side and just taking chunks out of one another. But they're Armstrong, that's why, because Armstrong's headed to the pits, that's why. So I was just about to say, just looking at the traffic, they're going to be pitting within the next couple of laps. They've just got a clear gap, had the lead prototypes, and they're just going to cap up a bit more up onto the LMPTs within that time. But Armstrong electing to get into some clear air, which he should come out into. I'll keep one eye on that for you. And that would means then he can get some faster laps in without, as he feels, being held up by Cowlitz.
Yep, it seems like a smart decision, and we're now on board with Marcel van den Berg. He's got Adams in front of him, just half a second as we come through to Maggots and Beckett's. We've not really seen a huge amount of battling from the LMP2 so far this evening. These two are the closest together. Berg's lost 3 places from his qualifying of second in class, whereas Adams has gone up 7 places. He started 11th and is up to 4th, so he'll be very keen to defend this. He's now got 10 seconds in front of him, but van den Berg's got quite a good run on the Hangar Straight, as we see the number 35 car there flashing, because he wants to get past. He doesn't want to get caught out through Stowe, and he does look like he's managed to clear that GTE. As we've said already, it's a little bit harder for these LMP2s to get past the GTEs. If you catch them in the wrong place, they're not actually that much quicker. And of course, they're very wide cars, so the car placement is paramount. Van den Berg has got right up onto the back as we come through the start-finish line. He's actually looking to move on to turn 1 here through Abbey. He's got the inside line. They're going to go side by side through Abbey and then into Farm. Is this going to end well? The heavy braking zone of turn 3. Still got the inside line, the number 5 van den Berg. But he's taking it nice and easy, and this is now going to swap over the inside for the 35. Let's hope that these can see each other in their mirrors. This is very clean driving so far. And there's going to be neck and neck as we come onto Wellington here. It's anybody's guess for who's going to get the lead. And currently Adams has got it in front. Oh, that's a small, very cheeky little swipe there. He obviously was confident he had the lead. He's now defending as we come through to Brooklands. But the number 5 has got the inside line. And this is a little bit of a better place to make the move. He's kept the inside line as come through Luffield. And that was some very high quality driving from the two there, with Berg managing to reclaim 4th position.
It really, really was, Chris. Exemplary driving from Van der Berg there. But can he pull away? Just keeping one eye on Armstrong up at LMP1. He's now up to 5th, where we've had Mills and Carey come into the pits. Now, Armstrong's pit time, including obviously driving through the pit lane, was 55 seconds. Just having a bit of a look at it right now. I'm not sure if that is going to be enough. I think it could well be, actually. He's around about 42 seconds behind Colarts. So it's looking at the moment, after the round of pit stops, that Armstrong will be taking the lead in LMP1.
Yep, especially here as we see Cowlarts is really struggling with the traffic there, with all 3 classes sharing the same space of track. And this will be one of those things Armstrong we're really hoping is happening, because he looks like he's got a bit of clear air by comparison. Yeah, if you look on that track map, there is no one from another class anywhere near him. This is looking like a very sensible tactical move from Armstrong. He's got so much clear air to just push as much as he can through there. Cowlarts there on the last lap probably lost a second or so from that, and he's got plenty of clean air here. So we'll see. We'll have to hope Cowlarts goes for a bit longer.
Chris, he needs
so
to pit now, really. Yeah. If he's got any chance of trying to revive his hopes of taking the victory here tonight. Otherwise, he's just gifting it to Armstrong. I said about it earlier, only a few laps ago, just before Armstrong came in, that they were coming up to a big, strong, string of back markers, and the time would be to pit within the next couple of laps. Armstrong did that. And look what's happened. He's got the jump. Cowlarts, he's just going to be looking to try and run it as deep as possible. But I just get the feeling, Chris, he is fighting a losing battle right now. And from looking at it, Chris, he could even fall behind Mills, who is currently in 4th.
Yep, Mills has been dropped by Armstrong, which just again shows you the supreme pace that Armstrong's shown today. And of course, I think the early stop does look to have been the strategy in LMP1s, because it's only Cowlarts and Dignan of the 9-car LMP1 grid that haven't yet pitted. And this is quite early for the LMP1 field, just the battle here between Lacey and Carey. They've both already pitted. They're going to have slightly heavier fuel tanks than they would have done 2 or 3 laps ago. And it looks like Lacey's just got the move done on Carey there, although I think it may have been a double switchover. And Lacey has regained that place, but how long for? Because they're still only within less than half a second of each other. Cowlart's opting to do another lap here. Of course, again, we keep an eye on that track map. Look how many cars that Cowlarts is going to have to get past in the next few seconds or laps, depending on how long they want to stay out. But of course, it's almost like a sunk cost fallacy, sort of staying in front. And of course, some of these guys are going to be fighting in front, and they're not going to want to concede any positions. Look at LMP2 there. I think that's Matt Cox. He's getting a little bit stuck there, but not in a battle himself. So sort of stuck what I have to do.
Chris just getting held up there in the traffic yet again. Dignan has come into the pit, so that means that everyone else, other than your leader in LMP1, has headed to the pit lane. And likewise, it's a similar story in LMP2 right now as well. But however, GTEs, around about 75% of the field, are yet to pit.
Yep, and we have heard on the voice chat within the race, there have been a little bit of tempest flaring with the traffic on that last lap. I believe it was Cowlarts and Simner were having a bit of a discussion about trying to get out of the way. But, the GTEs are in their own battle. As you can see here, Simner's got Wells for company this time. He'll be a bit frustrated that he's just constantly having to defend in these battles. But so far, he's managing to keep Wells off. He's still in 5th place, and he's only a second and a half behind Carmo. Musset has really cleared them, and Gwen has caught right up with Yuka. So Gwen's pace has been absolutely phenomenal tonight. He's made 12 places. It's only a 15-car GTE field. There was only one guy behind him at the start. And is he going to do a pretty much last row to first challenge here? Half a second. This is absolutely supreme driving from Gwen. We've not seen him so far in the broadcast split. We haven't seen Yuka either. So if one of these two is going to win the race, we've got a brand new GTE winner for the broadcast split. The Lacey Carey battle has got a new challenger, and it's someone viewers will know pretty well. He's had a quiet race so far. It's Jan Curbs, and what's he going to be able to do? He wants to try and get some more positions. He's just set a purple sector 4 on the previous lap, so he's beginning to find that pace that we know him for. Is he going to be able to get past these guys soon?
It is UK versus America versus the German, and it is getting ever so close here right now, Chris. And also we've got a couple of other battles. So Kura from LMP2, the Frenchman, he is into the pits, currently down to third as he's heading out of the pit lane right now. Also just staying in touch is GTE, and Gwen in second place is being hunted down by Musset. And then also we've got Wells, who's got Simner not too far behind as well, not too far with him as well. So a couple of other close battles emerging out on track right now.
Yep, and you can see some of the LMP ones that have pitted, second and third, they're coming through traffic. They'll be praying that these GTEs are going to start coming into the pits. They can run a few more laps from now. Carlos has finally decided to pits. He's got 41-second gap over James Armstrong, so he has recouped some of that. But Gwen here is right behind Yuka. Is he going to make a move, or is he going to look at maybe going for an undercut into the pits as we come through Stowe here? So it's the end of the lap. And, oh no, there was a bit of a fake out there, but Yuka has gone into the pits. This has released Gwen. Are we going to see a lap, or is it going to be an immediate response from Gwen on the next lap, or is he going to just try and go as long as he can and really run as fast as we can? We're going to see a similar thing here from Simner and Wells. Wells is going for the overtake. Simner has dived into the pit lane. So again, I think the drivers there realising that the battling is just going to cost them time. Here we come, see with James Armstrong coming up to the end of the lap. Cowlot's still in the pit, still stopped in his pit box. Probably will be stopped for another 5 or 6 seconds. James Armstrong is, I think, looking odds-on favourite here to take the lead of the race. Cowlot's is, however, now exiting the pit lane. We should see him on the right in a second. There he is. This is going to be incredibly close.
Wow!
That's an LMP2 there. I think it's James Armstrong. There you go.
There he is. He's behind. I don't know how
Cowlot's is getting caught here. And Cowlot's probably had a bit of a gap there, but the LMP2 just holding up ever so slightly, but he's still got the lead. It's incredible that these two drivers, with 5 laps between them.
Last time around, Armstrong got caught up in a lot of traffic, and that is what has cost him from what looked like a certain, chance of certainty that he was going to take the lead. However, they're now back to how they were before the pit stop started, right against one another. Only 2 temps separating this top 2 right now in LMP1.
You just saw the Porsche of Wales just ever so slightly get in the way there. Not much he could have done. They've managed to get past Carmo, and that leaves just Musset and Gwen of the GTE field to pass. But we're going to go over to Jan Corbs now, because he, as you can see there, he's overtaking Lacey. He's already overtaken Carey. Incredible driving from Curbs, and he's now got, that's the number 1 car of, that is Sangali, the leader of LMP2. So he's managed to get past him as well. And now that's Taylor Mills, 6 seconds up the road. Are we going to see Jan Curbs shoot away, or are Lacey or Carey going to be able to shoot back, as we see Curbs really taking the curbs there? Apologies for the completely unnecessary pun. I'll promise to not do that again. But yeah, Lacey is only 2 tenths behind here. He's really tucked in the slipstream, not going for a move just yet, which I think is perhaps a good idea. We've seen the pace. Carey has been dropped a little bit by them. He's now a second behind. As Curbs comes into the final chicane, you can see under braking just how close these two are. The GTEs are all beginning to pit now. As we go back to Cowlot's, Armstrong about as close as you can get, looking for a move around the outside. He's still got just a touch of car was on the outside there, and he's got the inside. Oh, that's a very nice move from Armstrong. But of course, is Cowlot's going to be able to take revenge coming up the Wellington Straight? He's going to have the draft. He's not interested in the draft. He's actually got a better run. He's back ahead. He's boosted ahead of him.
That's where you saw the boost deployment there being different between the two drivers. And Cowlot's, despite losing that place to Armstrong, just deploying his boost in a different place. And that's what has allowed him to just get that run out onto the Wellington Straight and just shoot straight past Armstrong.
Yeah, I think we've got an LMP2 that just went off track that will be compromised coming through Cops there. Hopefully that doesn't interfere with the battle too much. But Curbs hasn't actually been able to clear Lacey and Carey. Carey's caught straight back up. So again, traffic is probably playing a part of that. But these three really battling. I think the Lacey-Carey battle is going to help Curbs here perhaps, as he is slightly further away coming through Maggots and Beckett's. and then oh no, sorry, yep. Is Kerry's the one looking more like he's going to make a move here? It's coming onto Hangar, but nope, they're all pretty much equal. Another LMP2 slightly in the way just ahead. That is the number 11 car of Schettino there. Not really in a battle, so he does the right thing, just gets out of the way. But the Cowlarts-Armstrong battle still neck and neck. This is basically a 15-minute sprint to finish him.
It is, and just keeping one eye on GTE for you, Chris, while you've been commentating on that. Simner has dropped a few further places down to 7th in class. Wales is around about 1.6 seconds up the road, but he is chasing down Principe, Carmo even, but Nguyen has taken the lead for Porsche. Well, I say taking the lead for Porsche. He's taking the lead personally. Porsche just completely dominate here. From first all the way down to 9th. It's only Corvette just sneaking into the top 10 with the Brazilian Ricky occupying that last place. But right now the Frenchman is out in front of Nguyen, and he's 2.6 seconds clear of Duca.
It really has been a phenomenal drive from Gwen, because Duca it looked like home and dry in the first half of the race, but it just goes to show you that you really can't forget that these may be sprint races, but they're an hour long, and it might be all well and good having a good first half hour, but it's an entire hour, and Gwen is showing that it doesn't necessarily, qualifying in these longer races doesn't necessarily have to dictate where you finish if you've got that pace, and Gwen's pace tonight has been supreme. But yeah, it looks like he's been unchallenged. We've not really mentioned the LMP2 so far. There is actually an interesting battle brewing up for the lead there with Sangalli and Studensky. They've sort of stayed within 2 seconds of each other for the whole race. Sangalli is the number 1 car on the field, and Studensky has shown really good pace in the past, and he's keeping up here with a 7k iRacing driver. So yeah, we are seeing the sort of real cream of the crop here in the LMP2 field, but we just can't leave the Cowlarts-Armstrong battle alone, because these guys are neck and neck, and we're going to see another move here. This time Armstrong is on the inside. He's not Cowlarts has gone wide, but that was perhaps to get past the number 28 car there. That is Schmal, who again is not really in a battle, so he's just done a good job of getting mostly out of the way. Slightly interesting line from Cowlarts to get round him, but he's managed to negotiate it successfully, and we're not seeing any head-to-head battles through the Wellington Straight, although again Armstrong closing right back up. He's very confident with the car just right in front of him here, but we've seen very different boost strategies from the 2 drivers here. Is this going to work to someone's advantage? We've got more traffic. That is the Ford just ahead of them. Really awkward place to join them as we come through Cops, and thankfully it doesn't seem to have caused any problems. So Armstrong again right up behind us. We come through Maggots and Beckett's now. Is he going to wait for the Hangar Straight and try and make a move coming through there? Do you reckon, Tim?
It's getting so close. Only 0.03 of a second separating these two last time around, but they are coming up to GTE cars as they now head out down the Hangar Straight. It's going to be Stone next. Long sweeping right-hander. We've got to clear the Porsche. That's number 31 of Jordan. Now Armstrong. Oh, wow, save there. You see the flash of the lights where he is not happy with that. He has dropped around about half a second to Cowlarts. Can this be Cowlarts' chance now to just clear away? And Armstrong, he's going to be so angry inside the cockpit of the Audi R18 LMP1 right now, Chris.
I'm sure he is.
So tricky, but
he lost 7 tenths on that last lap. You've just seen the lap times come up on the timing tower there. Incredible car control from Armstrong to make sure he can not go off there. I mean, we would have seen, I think, a month or 2 ago, that would have been Armstrong out of the race, because we've seen that incident before. But just so the luck of the draw of just when you hit traffic, because Cowlarts decided to go one side, and Armstrong, by the point he'd caught up, kind of had to go the other side. But of course the GT was trying to maintain its line, and then there was that sort of classic when you meet someone in a corridor and you both go the same way to give way to each other. It's a lot nicer when that's person to person, because car to car is a lot more damage. And we'll go and look at the other really close battle on the track at the moment. This is a 3-way here between Principe, Carmo and Wells, with Simner just 2 seconds back. We want to keep them honest, but Carmo and Wells at the moment, they're managing to battle without really giving up too much time, and they actually managed to catch Principe just a little bit. But Wells here, he has gained 2 places from his starting position. Is he going to be able to
go across
that?
you. I think that Armstrong's about to go for a move here on Carlos, and there's this weaving through the GTs. You see them then just ducking back in, trying to get the most amount of slipstream that they can, just trying to get every little advantage over their competitor right now. We've got just over 10 minutes to go. Armstrong, he is closing up ever so slightly. And this is going to get so close, and I feel it's going to be a little bit of luck with traffic. This is, well, nearly big contact there between them. Wow, Chris, this is so close, and this is why we come to sports car racing. This is why we love it, for moments like this. A battle right to the bitter finish here at Silverstone.
It really is, and Cowlotz is very confident around the outside there, but James Armstrong's got him again. And it's 1 lap each. They've both been held up by traffic, and I don't think Armstrong making the move means this battle is anywhere near done. As we're coming down the Wellington Straight, Cowlotz again choosing to use his boost and coming back ahead, but Armstrong's got the inside line as we're coming through Brooklands and then into Luffield. Luffield, he's still got the inside here, so for now he's got the lead. But if you look at that track map, they've got a few more GTE cars than the prototype and then a bit of clear air, but they're going to catch those prototypes perhaps as well with 10 minutes left to go, because these LMP1s are absolutely rapid as Armstrong's coming through Copse. All 3 classes on one stretch of road yet again, and again we're seeing they've managed it perfectly fine. Carey and Lacey, while this is happening, they're in the middle of a battle. Carey's got back past Lacey. Of course, they'll be dealing with this traffic soon as well. It's all action. We've had 50 minutes, Tim, and there's no sign of it wanting to stop.
No, we've seen it so many times here at Total Sim Sports, where, you know, we've covered endurance races, and some of them haven't even settled down till hour 4. It's just being the intensity, and Silverstone, well, I'm sure even if these drivers kept going all night, they would still be trading places. They would still be over the back of one another, but Armstrong has managed to pull a little bit of a gap out of Cowlotz right now. A little bit better with the traffic, but with 9 minutes left to go, all is not over, and I'm sure it's going to be a fight right to the line as we just watch Wells and Carmo here, as well as taking. So
he's already taken his mandatory pit stop, so something perhaps has happened here. Maybe he didn't fuel enough. Maybe there's some damage.
Chris.
Although it might well be a drive-through for Carmo. So again, this sort of shows you the approach of some of the drivers. Richard Simner perhaps being one of them, just driving that a little bit more carefully. There's an advantage to it in that not having to take a drive-through is a pretty big time advantage. I think it's fair enough to say. As we've got Carey currently ahead of Lacey, but this is another battle that seems far from done. Lacey setting purple sectors on the last lap of the race. So there's clearly pace available here. Jan Curbs has cleared them in front, but he's not going to be able to catch up with Taylor Mills before the end of the race without something to be happening. And yeah, and Cowlotz's last lap out was 2 seconds slower than Armstrong, so Armstrong clearly being able to turn on that little bit of extra pace. And he's actually got Taylor Mills. It's only Lacey's got caught.
Wow,
what happened there?
I think caught the rear end of Carey, and then because the electric motors are on the front axle of the car, what the drivers will do is they'll absolutely floor it, deploy their hybrid boost, which then effectively makes the car like a front wheel drive car and yanks the front end back around, and that is what's kept Jordan Lacey alive right now.
Yeah, he'll be probably the adrenaline pumping through his veins. Let's see if he's got the pace to catch back up to Carey. It's only a second and a half, but often you find with drivers, once they've had that one slight incident, the adrenaline just prevents them from being able to drive quite at the peak of their powers. But we've just seen, just as we were saying, how the racing doesn't stop. This is the first time this race really that we've not seen only got 2 drivers within a second of each other. This is one of those battles. It's Cowlotz and Mills. Mills is now 7 tenths behind, catching right up. There's Mills in the blue car on the right of the screen there, just coming past the number 34 of Boomeister there. And then they're not going to have a huge amount of traffic to worry about as we see some smoke there. Something has obviously happened as we see possibly a car. That's James Armstrong. James Armstrong's gone wide. Let's hear a replay of what's happened to James here. Perhaps he's just pushing that little bit too hard, really taking a lot of curb on the entrance of Brooklands.
Nice,
and then, no, that's the number 35 having teased out to Dodge Adams, who's gone wide. And that's cost him the lead of the race. He's back down to 3rd, but it does mean, from a viewer's perspective, that's excellent. We've got now a 3-way battle for the lead. It's the one we saw at the start of the race. They're now neck and neck again. Cowlarts is back again in the lead. Taylor Mills is up to second for the first time this race. And Armstrong's got it all to do again and back in third. But this is anyone's race, really, Tim. Armstrong's going to be very annoyed.
Oh, incredibly. He'll be absolutely fuming, Will Armstrong, right now. But look, only a second and a half covering our top three here in LMP1 at Silverstone. It's going to be a fight to the finish. There is only 6 minutes left here tonight, and it's also getting a bit tight as well. At the front end of LMP2, Sangali's under attack from Studensky, and battles everywhere. Just you cut across to the LMP2s right now, Chris. You see only 7/10 separating our top two. It's hard to know where to look right now. It's got battles everywhere.
The absolute joy of multi-class racing. I mean, Studensky can feel hard done by to not get a huge amount of airtime. That's been a real slow burner of a battle developing between him and Sangali, who's really controlled the field in LMP2. But how can you take your eyes away from this three-way battle for the lead of LMP1 with Cowlarts is really having to defend basically this entire race, it feels like. Taylor Mills taking a much narrower line there and is right tucked behind Cowlarts there. We've got another LMP2 to deal with. They've got past that one successfully. Armstrong is going to catch the number 30 car into Cops, which is very unfortunate timing. Managed to get through.
So close there, Chris. So close, and nearly wipes out by, I think it was LMP2 there. It's just how close it is, but Mills is really harassing the back of Cowlarts right now. This is going to be interesting. There's only under 5 minutes left to go, Chris, and I don't know what to call this because we're now down to a second covering our top three in LMP1. They're just coming through to clear through one of the back markers. That is the number 5 of Berg.
Not making it easy for them.
No, definitely not. And Armstrong could want to lose up, but no, there we go. They've all managed to close up yet again, down to 7/10 covering the top three.
Yep, and as you look on the track map there, they're catching up to the GTE. Studensky has managed to get past Sangali. Let's see how that happened. They've got a GTE to clear. Looks like they've done that all right. And Studensky, that's a very late, very cheeky move.
Oh, wow.
That's a very, very cheeky move. Managed to get past, but then the lock-up.
And then,
that's naughty. That's I think we've seen that kind of move before from some of these drivers. I mean, you can understand why they're doing it with 4 minutes left in the race, but if you're Sangali, you're going to be absolutely fuming in the cockpit of that car. But a win is a win is the argument you'd have from the other drivers. Some of us are more aggressive than others. I'm being the biggest cop out in the world and not taking sides here.
Chris, yeah, of course, this is coming from the man who felt so sorry for taking someone out the other day in his Formula Renault 3.5 that he brought him some iRacing dollars to say sorry and fair play to you. But this top three, Chris, wow, look at them right now, really closing up, and it's so
wide here. But this is incredible driving with traffic as well. They're going to get boxed in.
Going to boxed in.
And just to sort of really hold you in suspense, let's look at the pit lane there. And Cowlarts is currently in the lead. Mills doesn't know where to go. Cowlarts is sort of weaving just to try and keep that lead down. About as close as you can possibly get. A bit of bump drafting there. This is NASCAR now. And they're going to try and go 3 wide into the chicane almost, which is madness. Mills is in the lead for the first time of this race. Armstrong's got past Cowlarts as well. This is insane, and Lacey and Carey are still battling back behind. More traffic. All three cars
again. Go to the inside, Chris. Look, he's going to get it. They're going 3 wide. 3 wide. Here we go. Oh, wow. I think Mills is going to get a slowdown surely for that there, Chris. He's surely got to hurt her. But right now, she's just trying to hold off Cowlarts and just trying to shed it off.
Bit of punch between the 3 and the 4. And Cowlarts and Mills there nearly contacting, but just managed to avoid it. This is incredible. We've seen another incredible three-way from the European Sprint Series. We seem to get one a week at the moment that lasts the entire race. Cowlarts now and Mills. Cowlarts has managed to get past Mills. Armstrong will be begging these two to fight just as much as they can as he wants to shoot off into the distance with just 2 minutes left. This is perhaps 2 laps, maybe 3 if they can get to the start line quickly. Traffic galore at the moment, and Oh, so I mean, my heart rate's through the roof, Tim. How on earth these drivers must feel right now?
I'm exactly the same. Well, I'm not sure I'm going to sleep tonight because we're so pumped with the adrenaline just from watching this as they come through. Magnus and Beckett, Taylor Mills just showing a car to the outside. Going to get the inside on the cutback, and that is Mills up into second place. And now, look, well, those two have been battling. Callart's on the lights, not impressed by that. And all they can see is they're losing time to Armstrong as Callart's now for the lunge up the inside. But Mills running it all the way around the outside and well cutting off, just shutting the door.
It looks like Cowlarts has perhaps had a drive-through as well. Taylor Mills has surely got one as well. I mean, my timing tower is saying that she's had 29 off-tracks. That's perhaps not actually the truth because that would be a disqualification by now. But with 1 minute left to go, this will be the white flag lap.
Now, just keep one little eye on what happened. I mean, he may have lost it. He got a tank slapper on the entry there, and Cowlart's just losing it. Tried to correct it, and has just lost it on the entry. Round off all with Cowlart's now. Nowhere to go. Ran out of track, and then had to slam on the brakes to get it slowed down in time, and then it's just rotating the car. And it's playing a nice bit of up close and personal time with the barrier there. But while that's been going on, Armstrong's managed to clear off at the front and get some fresh air. But now we head back down the field to LMP2, to Dainsley versus Sangali. These two have been at it, and Sangali heads to the... Well, they're all really pushing hard here, Chris, with, so they know they're running out of time.
I think that GT had got in the way of Studensky, and Sangali was a victim of it as well. But now look at that. This is the last lap of the race, and they're neck and neck for the lead of LMP2. LMP1 seems to have been sorted. Is Sangali going to go for the move here? Is he going to cut on the inside? No, they're going to go one by one here. I believe these guys will just be coming onto the white flag lap here because Armstrong is...
Coming for Porsche, Charvet for Ford in GTE. And Studensky now just set... Wow, I would say looking comfortable, but at 4 attempts, it's not exactly comfortable, Chris, and there's not long left to go.
No, we are actually at the checkered flag, but it's already finished. Armstrong has won the race from Taylor Mills. This is the battle for the last two, aside from back here, the last two LMP1 still going, and they're going to have a potentially incident here as well. They're fighting even for 6th place. Bit of a lunge there, and they've contacted.
Wow.
Dignam spun. McCunas has gone through. And Dignam, that's very unfortunate. And oh God, more LMP2 shenanigans here as Sangali is paying their favour back to Studensky. You can see they've still got half a lap to go. This is too much for me, Tim. I don't know how these guys can cope. They're still going to have to come through here. They're coming through Luffield. They've still got Cops to go. We've still got the Hangar Straits to go. What on earth is going to happen here? They're a very bad-tempered fight from these two. What are we going to do, Tim?
I don't know, Chris. I mean, luckily these drivers have only got to concentrate on their own battles. We have to concentrate on literally the whole field. But this one, another category, is going to come down to the wire here at Silverstone. Around about a quarter of a lap left. Sangali running out of time as we run on board with him right now. They head down the Hangar Straight. Going to be neutralised from Sangali, being in that clear air there and not getting any slipstream effect. Coming down there into Cops, and Sangali is really running out of time now, and they seem to have backed out a little bit, and maybe even short-fueled himself.
Or is he doing something cheeky here? It's quicker to go through the pit lane. It's just a naughty strategy. Is he going to win the race?
No, he's not. Studensky has got ahead.
That would have been one of the all-time great life hacks if he'd managed to get through there.
Oh, that would have been.
But, oh, dear me, that was... I think it's fair to say that was a reasonably eventful race, Tim. I think we're going to need a few nights to recover from that. We only actually had 3 retirements in total, which, considering the amount of action we had on track there, I don't know how they've managed to keep it all on track there. We've had battles. I mean, Tony Gwen in the GTE is the only one who's really had a simple race in the end. And you think any other day, a last to first through the field, that would be your normal sort of story of the race. But it's the battles for the lead in the other 2 classes that are going to take the battle here. And you can see here the race results tonight. And of course, let's not forget the LMP1 Hub Discord. They are bringing you the results tonight. If you want to know more about LMP1 racing in iRacing, and why wouldn't you after what we've just seen today, find where these guys hang out and learn some tips on how to drive and get through traffic just quite as quickly, then check out the LMP1 Hub Discord. The link is in the description below. And Tim, would you like to take us through the results tonight?
It's all my pleasure. So, James Armstrong, he looked down and out, but he recovered, and through a little bit of luck and a little bit of help, managed to take the victory there. Corbs coming home in second, Lacey third, Carey fourth, Buchanan is fifth, Taylor Mills, got to feel aggrieved by that one, is sixth, Sam Dignan is seventh, Miko is eighth, and Carl Lotz, wow, you've got to feel for him. After an absolutely brilliant race, ran off the track a little bit, had nowhere to go other than to the pit lane, and then that was his race over as he turned it into the wall and come so last in class. Ninth, and then across into LMP2. Sedensky holds on for the victory. Sangali heading to the pit lane at the end, but I think ultimately knew it was over to come in second. Quara rounding out your podium in LMP2. Then it was Van der Berg in fourth. Who's been Mr. Great result from him, fifth, climbed a few places. Nick Adams, sixth. Matt Cox was seventh. Chatino, eighth. Lorenzo, ninth. Ferreira was 10th. And Danny Gosling rounding out your field. And obviously one of our retirees, the Brit, was in LMP2. Then it's across to GTLM or GTE, depending on which side of the pond you're from. Well, dominant night from Porsche, as you can see. First through to 8th place, and Gwen taking the victory for Porsche with Duca, and Mazet joining him on the podium in second and third, respectively. Principe came home in 4th, Jack Wells was 5th, Richard Simner 6th, Mark Caldicott was 7th, then Paul Jordan 8th, so 5th through to 8th, covered by the Brits and all Porsche drivers. Then the first non-Porsche runner, it was the Corvette of Ricky, who came home in 9th. Then Carmo for Porsche in 10th, a lone Ford of Charvet came home in 11th. Then it was Schurmuck, who was 12th for Porsche. Roosevelt in the Corvette was 13th. D'Aquino for Porsche was 14th. And then in 15th place was Uliati for Corvette. And now we'll
We can have a look at what that's done for the standings then, Tim, so that I can take you through those. So Jan Kurbs, despite a relatively quiet race by his standards, he still maintains his lead. He's on 111 points. Look at that gap back to second, Carlo Labatti, who wasn't there. So we've got Labatti in second, Mills joint second there as well, Will Woodland in fourth. James Armstrong has climbed 7 places to get up to fifth. And then rounding out the top 10, we've got Simon Cowlarts, Alex Bacchio, Andre Reddington, Luke Santos, and Daniele Pizzo. And then, of course, let's not forget the LMP2 standings. So Jan Studensky taking the win today, and that has rocketed him up into first place. He's overtaken Alessandro Izzo, Dominic Cortum, who I think his crown for most exciting racing in the broadcast split of ESS may have been taken by about 5 different drivers from today's race. He's in third. Following him, we've got Andrea Barilaro, Didier Duchateau, and Kenneth Gilbranson, all on 25 points, along with Lasser back. Benjamin Cowra is up 11 places into 8th, followed by Michele Sangali and Robert Guilford in 10th, along with about 1 million drivers, it looks like. And then, of course, GTE, we've got Romain Verdelivo, Michel Rack, Junior Borges, Adrian Leidinger, Kirill Kolobuksov, Mikkel Gard, Tony Gwen, who in his first race here has climbed all the way up to 7th, Jorge Carmo and Bruno Huca, and then Richard Simner, who is, I think, you don't want to be disappointed with the 6th place because he's driven really well, but he was up to 2nd at one point, but he has climbed 3 places up to 10th in the GTE standings. Well, what a race, Tim. How many hours are you going to need to recover before you go to bed for that?
I don't think there's any point, to be fair, going to bed. Why waste your time with that? And wow, I like you say, I don't know where to quite recover. It was so much great action, of course. That what turned out to be in the end was a freeway battle for the lead in LMP1. It was supposed to the race between Armstrong and Cowlarts. Wow, what a battle! But then equally, LMP2, Sedensky and Sangali really battling out. Simner getting some brilliant battles, and Gwen just making his way through the field as well. And good to see as well with Ricky, for the Brazilian driver for Corvette, just getting into the top 10 there and ensuring it wasn't a complete lockout for Porsche in the top 10. here at
It
Silverstone.
really was great stuff, and I think I really encourage you to get people to watch this race back, and obviously don't forget to like and subscribe, because that results page really doesn't tell the whole story of the race that went on. It is some of the most epic sprint racing you'll ever see in multi-class, I think it's fair to say. Well, thank you, Tim, so much for joining me. I know James has been in YouTube chat and his power has just come back, and I think he's absolutely gutted that he's missed this race. I can only imagine just how excited he would have got in the play-by-play chair. I think his poor voice would have been shredded for days based on what we've seen. But if you would like to hear James, you're in luck, because we've got some more racing for you coming up at Total Sim Sport on Saturday. We're going to be broadcasting the ISREC 8 Hours of Daytona, which is sure to be some excellent racing. There'll be some familiar faces for those of you that have been following both the ESS and our other multi-class racing that we do at Total Sim Sport. And then, of course, on Sunday, we've got the IR UK GT3 AM League. That will be from 9 o'clock UK time. You can join us again on Tuesday. If you don't like roofs on your cars, well, we've got something for you there as well. We've got the F3, which will be coming from you live from Laguna Seca, which I think promises to be an absolutely epic race. And, of course, don't forget to join us here every Thursday for the European Sprint Series. Next week, we'll also be coming to you from Daytona, a track that these guys all know very, very well. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to keep up to date with our content. Thanks for watching Total Sim Sport. Thanks, Tim, for joining me. And thanks, of course, to Sean in the production booth, always with his hands full with the insane amount of racing we have to do. And that's good night from all of us here at Total Sim Sport.